Hello, Adele Bates here, Behaviour and Education Specialist, keynote speaker and author of Miss I Don't Give a Shit, Engaging with Challenging Behaviour in Schools. This vlog this week looks at a really common low-level disruption thing that goes on all the flipping time in classrooms when a pupil is late. Or pupils, if you're lucky. So let's just set the scene. It won't take much setting. I'm sure most of you are already there in your heads. You've got your class, you've given the starter, maybe you've done the register, and you're all set to go, and in strolls George, for example. And she is always late. George is always late. And she wants the attention for that, and now you've got to catch her up, or you might be mid-explaining something and then you feel like you have to go and talk to George and sort it all out. So what do you do? Now, as everything, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know, as everything, there isn't one clear-cut answer that will work every single time, because each of the contexts will be different. If you haven't come across before my blog on behaviour and context, go and have a look at that, because it really investigates the idea that the way we respond to behaviour will depend on the context. So, for example, if George is coming in crying, I'm going to respond to her lateness in a very different way than if she comes in and tells me to F off, miss. Yeah, you can see how there can't be one fast rule. So, saying that, you might have things within your school, within your behaviour policy, etc., in which it always has to be the same. They always have to have a late mark or 3 late marks, and it's a hoo-ha-ho. Whatever your rules are, that might need to be consistent. But the way that you react and the way that you refocus the class on the learning will be dependent on context. So let's have a little look at a couple of them. So let's go for the kind of child who comes in and wants attention that they're late. They've kind of done it because you can kind of see they don't really want to get on in your lesson, and they want to kind of create a drama and just waste time so that the learning doesn't need to happen, so they don't have to get on with the learning. So this young person, I've got so many in my head, this young person comes in, maybe they throw their bag, maybe they high-five their friend, they do as much as they can to disrupt the classroom, and if they're clever, which they usually are, they also do it up to this line where they're not doing anything you can tell them off for. So they're like, oh miss, I'm just coming and put my bag down. You want me to put my bag down? You want me to take my blazer off? That kind of thing can start happening. And so the best thing to do in this kind of area, I believe, is to ensure the focus remains on the learning. The second you give that young person lots of attention and engage and start a kind of drama or banter or whatever it is, that is the minute that you've stopped focusing on the learning and the other 33 young people in your class. And now this is easier said than done, but it is possible. So it's acknowledging, hi George, welcome. Give them the first task, give them the first instruction, not in a telling off way, but just in a clear way, so that we all know the boundaries and the expectations. Grab your pen, titles on the board, I'll catch up with you in a second, for example. So they've got something to do for the next 30 seconds. You can still retain your attention with the people who have already been there, with all the pupils, which gives actually the young person, George in this instance, it makes her feel like she's missing out on the action, rather than, hello, I am the centre of the action. Okay, and then as soon as you possibly can, once you've set the class to work, you go straight to George, and then you have the discussion. And the discussion at first, depending on their mood, might be, let's get you into the learning, we'll discuss your lateness later. However, if there's some perhaps concerning reason why you think they're late, maybe something's happened, something that you need to know about that's going to affect how that they can continue with their learning, then you might want to take them aside and have that conversation. With a habitual late person, I'm thinking of a particular George, so much so that she actually won the I gave them all certificates at the end of year 11, and she actually won the latest person. And I'm sure I was that person as well when I was a pupil. I wasn't very good at being on time. Anyway, if you've got a habitual late person, you do not need to shout at them every lesson, because it clearly doesn't do anything anyway, and it's just distracting from the learning. It's just distracting your attention from the other 33. You don't need to go into a big thing of like, oh, why is it not in that moment. If you've got a habitual late person, what you might want to do is start taking a tally, and then maybe in their break time or their lunchtime, whatever, have that little quiet word. Oh, can you wait afterwards? Right, what's going on? Why are you always late for my lesson? Is it personal? Is it something about the lesson? Are you struggling with the work? And what you're doing there is finding out, is there a barrier to learning here that you need to account for? I have discovered in the past that some late students, it can be for reasons like, oh, well, actually, so-and-so and I have had a fight, and I don't want to be, sat next to her and doing this and da-da-da-da-da. So there's like a pastoral issue there that needs support. Or it can be that, oh, actually, miss, I find your lessons really hard and really boring. Great. Useful feedback for me. How do I adapt my pedagogy so that the learning is more engaging at the start, that makes the children excited to be in my classroom, or at least engaged. Maybe teenagers excited is a little bit OTT. And then of course you've got on the other side, you've got students who are late because you might find out things like they're taking their siblings to school, they're cooking breakfast before they leave for a parent who's ill. You can find out these things that might be actually quite key to the students' overall capacity for education and for learning in the context of their lives. So, to summarise, your main focus is still on the 33 others that were there. And anything you can do to keep the focus on the learning and on the engagement in that way, the better. Give the late person a task immediately, even if the task is get your book out. Give them a task that they need to fulfill, and you can say that in a neutral tone. There is no need to shout about that, because what's going to happen if you shout them? You're going to get resistance. You're going to get conflict. It will just take up more time. Real simple instructions. So we've got focus on the others. Give them a small task to be getting on with, and then as soon as you can, pick them back up, scoop them back up, and get them caught up on the learning if you can. And then of course, depending on your behaviour policy, you might be keeping them in at the end, or behaviour points, or whatever it is. I would absolutely love to hear how you get on with this, what your experiences are of late students, and please keep us contacted and connected with your experiences too. All right, if you would like to have more of this, if you would like me to come into your school and support your staff, then grab me over at adelbateseducation.co.uk, and over there you can find lots more free resources all about different specific topics around behaviour. Thank you.